Hi, I'm Richie Zellon, and I want to welcome you to part 2 of Rhythm Changes for Rock and Blues Guitarists. So I'm assuming that you've watched part 1 in order to understand what we're doing here. In this part, I'm going to first briefly go over only the pentatonics we used in the first lesson to solo over rhythm changes. Then I'm going to show you some notes that you can add to them in very specific places in order to make them sound jazzier. So, before I teach you this stuff, let me show you the sound of the end result when you apply what we are about to explore. So if you watched the first lesson, you'll recall that I explained that I was improvising over the A section, shifting back and forth between the minor B-flat pentatonic and its parallel major. And the parallel major has the same root, B-flat. So I'm not talking about the relative major, which would be, in this case, D-flat, but instead the parallel major. So I'm going randomly between B-flat minor pentatonic and B-flat major pentatonic. Now, you ask me probably what makes you decide to go from one to the other specifically. Well, I'm using my ear. Okay, and that's something you're going to have to experiment with and know when one fits better with the changes. Usually when I go to the 4 chord, which is an E flat, I usually want to accent the 3rd. And that's available in the major pentatonic in B flat. It's the 6. Or, so, that's really important because you wanna hear as much of the changes outlined in your solo as you can, and it is limited because we're superimposing just 1 or 2 pentatonics over the same root for all those chords. We're not changing scales like we do when we play over the changes in jazz. Okay, so let's talk about these additional notes now that I've added to these pentatonics. First, let's look at the minor pentatonic, the central one, which is the one that everybody knows. On the B flat here. What I'm doing is basically adding all the available passing tones. So if I'm going to go 1, flat 3, there's a passing tone between the flat 3 and the 4, which would be, and then the next one is 5, and there's a passing tone between 4 and 5. Then we go flat 7, and that is followed by the 1, but there is a passing tone, a chromatic passing tone between the flat 7 and the 1. Then again, I'm going to the flat 3, chromatic, 2, 4, and then from the 4, chromatic to 5. Then I go to the flat 7. I'm going to play it with my ring finger so I can play this chromatic passing tone to the 1. So what you have here is this. Okay? So that makes things a lot jazzier. And you can do the same thing with the parallel major pentatonic. Then you go to your 5, chromatic to the 6. You go to the 2, chromatic to the 3, 5, chromatic to the 6. So I recommend that you go back and explore each one of the fingerings that I'm using, that I explained and demonstrated in part 1. And you try to find where you can throw in these chromatic passing tones, and that's going to make, like I said, things a lot jazzier. The other interesting thing that we can do is playing outside. In playing outside, no, it's not like you open the door and you take your guitar out to the street. No. Playing outside in jazz, if you're a newbie, means that we're going outside of the scale, outside of the harmony, and we're clashing. We're creating tension on purpose. So if I were to play, make it simpler there, just a B flat major chord, and I'm using a minor B flat pentatonic. If I go outside, what I'm going to do is, one way of going outside, and this is what we're going to concentrate on, is I'm going to side slip. That means I'm going to go half step below or half step above. So, and then I'm going to keep going until I resolve to a note in another inversion of the original scale. So when I say another inversion of the original scale, that's my original one. The next fingering or inversion is here. So when I'm side slipping and going outside, I might, to demonstrate something simple, I might do this. See, there was a few notes in there that were really out. So I'm taking this first fingering, sliding, continuing in B natural. I started in B flat, continuing it in B natural for a few notes, and then sliding up another half step, going back to B flat, but in a different inversion, okay? And the same thing works going downward. Okay? And you can do this with any set of fingerings. You don't want to do it for a prolonged period of time, because if not, it's going to sound too out. You don't want to go too far out. If not, you're going to get lost, okay? And you're going to also lose your audience while you're at it. So, you know, use it tastefully. Maybe a few notes, slip in and out, and, you know, it's going to add that special touch.